Oh. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Fiona, I use she, her pronouns, and welcome to Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs. I hope you're doing well, my good friends and TTRPG family. Oh, sorry, the music's got incredibly dramatic for no reason at all. Let's just chill out. Let's just chill out. I know I'm here. Hope you're all doing well today. I had a very good day. You can see I've got a tiny bit of makeup on, less than I did about an hour ago. I was doing a pre-record for Actual Play UK. We were doing our long postponed Heart series, which is really good. I've never played Heart before by Rowan Rook and Descartes. Uses something called the resistance system, which is lots of D10s and stuff. And I was playing a deep Apirus, hence sort of the yellow stuff we got going on. I had a lot more yellow and a lot more hexagons on my face a little while ago. Turns out doing makeup's really difficult, hence why I don't do it that often. But I hope you're doing okay. What else is there? Oh, I was away yesterday. I was off in Nottingham, of all places. Not for Warhammer or anything like that, unfortunately. That is one vice I am not in my life, thankfully. Or unthankfully, clearly. I'm not enlightened. But I was in Nottingham to do some improv, which was very lovely. And then the rest of the week has been decently busy, good overall. But I was very excited to come to this game, Gubat Banwa, or Banwa, sorry, a Southeast Asian fantasy tactics tabletop RPG. This RPG, I wanted to do a proper in-depth look at it, or certainly the quick start. I'll tell a little story about that in a second, because Gubat Banwa came up quite a bit at Dragonmeet. There was a tabletop panel about what's hot in tabletops, and two different people mentioned this game coming out, and I'd already got a copy of it, like through itch, because it's already out and about in the world, essentially. So obviously there's a link to that in the show notes. Oh, hello, Merely Map. Ah, you're sneaky. You heard me giving praise about Heart. Hearts. But yes, so Gubat Banwa has been out for a while, actually. And sorry, got bits of hair coming out, and I was like, okay, well, I downloaded it probably about 6 months ago. I'll have a look at it, and when I looked at it, it was 399 pages long. I was like, oof, that was a lot, but okay, I'll look at it. And then I thought, I'll just go back to the itch.io page, and I was like, oh, there's an update as of yesterday. So I was like, brilliant. And I downloaded it and had a quick look at it. And firstly, the formatting had been sorted out. Like, it wasn't all bunched together, which is always really good, helpful for me. But it had moved from 399 pages to roughly 600 and something. And I was just there going, oh my goodness, how am I going to do Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPG stream? Because as always with these streams, I don't want to like just read out the book verbatim, like the whole thing. Because obviously I want to encourage people to like go out and read it. So, you know, I'm trying to aim at quick starts. I'm trying to aim at certain books that, you know, here's a snippet of like, you know, an hour and a half. Because that's what these streams are about. It's more of accountability streams for myself, so that I actually read through some of the RPGs I have and gives me ideas about, oh, would I play this for my podcast, which is What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast. So I was like, oh, I need to look at these things. And I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? Because, you know, I really want to cover Gubat Banwa, but I don't know if it'll be enjoyable to try and do 600 X pages in a 2-hour stream, which is would not happen at all, especially when the lore of it is so integrated into the settings itself, or the game's mechanics itself. And then of course I was like, well, they do have a Kickstarter that happened in December. I'll go and have a look. And of course they've got a quick start on the Kickstarter, so that's where we are. So I was like, phew, 10 minutes before the stream going, oh great, it's a quick start, not like a preview of the book. But I'll go over from Big Fiona Cam. Ooh, get rid of Big Fiona face, and we'll go to the Kickstarter. Well, first of all, we'll go to the actual website, which is a beautiful thing. And I'll read out what we have here, and then I'll go on to the Kickstarter, what that means, and where you can find your own edition of it, and what I've managed to what I've got for us to show today. So, Gubat Banwa is a martial arts, tactics, and war drama tabletop RPG created by Joachim Kyle Savardra and Dylan Briones. You play a martial artist poised to change the world, Kadungganan, cavalry and wandering swordsmen, tide turners, the knights-errant, the ones to call in the darkest night in a world inspired and centering Southeast Asian folklore. Violence for violence sake is not the rule of beasts, but the nature of divinity. You can imagine it. You can scarcely imagine it. A sky of 1,000 worlds. First of all, how cracking is the artwork? I mean, obviously, you're only seeing a little bit here, and you can check it out on the website itself, but it's incredible. We have 5 different sort of like nations which your characters can be a part of. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So we have. I'm just going to look at these very beautiful like crests, as it were. We've got the Rajanate of Gatusan, which are painted warriors of the endless sea, raiders blazing the sea, seafarers that sail to heaven and seize its thunderclaps. Wow, very cool. Folk of poetry, battle, and ritual. Then we have the Confederate of the Apumbukin, stewards of the divine wilds, guardians of the primeval of harmony. Harmonious with the heart of the world, living alongside nature, they rose from... Ooh, there seems to be a full stop there. Oh, no. I get you. Harmonious with the heart of the world, living alongside the nature they arose from. Full stop. Ritualists attuned to the gods. And then we've got the Sultanate of Akai. The Holy Knights of the Sacral Moon. Soldiers of the Sultana. Yeah. Cavaliers of the Most High Goddess. Through their striving, they spread the moon gleam across the isles. Folk of war and expansion. We've got the Lacanate of Verbanwa. Survivors turned to conquerors. Once colonized folk of Lacan, who seek to unite the Sword Isles, which is a big setting that we're all in, under a single banner. Pious and ritualistic, faithful of the localized star. And finally we've got the kingdom of, not Bay, as I was reading it as Bayi, the resplendent kingdom, the Refugent Elder Mandala. Led by the goddess Empress, whose righteousness must be spread across all lands to bring all to virtue. Folk of trade and magic. Very cool. Like, what cracking imagery. Honestly, the drawings in this are incredible. And yeah, you can join the main list if you want. If I move it off to one side, there is a Discord and a Patreon. Let's click onto the Patreon and see what we can see. So you can, and there's various, early access to content as well, some Discord tags, all the good stuff, which is quite good. Yeah, I've got the quick start as well. But this is the thing. So I originally go to this page. So this is where I was getting it from the itch page of one of the writers, one of the writers' itch page is, and that's why that's where one of the latest versions on. If you want to have a quick look at the full layout of stuff, I feel like highly recommend you do that as well. It is interesting that I'm going to quickly look now. I bet there'll be a link to like a quick start in a second. Not that I can see. I mean, there's no problem with that at all, but it's just like I was like, oh gosh, I wish there was a quick start, like, or something, because I didn't want to read out the whole thing, because that's not fair as well. But honestly, there's some cracking imagery. Yeah, it doesn't look like it at all. I bet if I go onto the actual itch page, it'll probably be like a quick start thing. So let me have a quick look. There you go. I'm a complete idiot. There it is. It's because I've already bought it. That's why I bought the first edition. That's what the difference is. So yeah, let's go over to the quick start very, very quickly. And this is what it looks like. Funded in 24 hours, which is absolutely amazing. The war drama martial arts tabletop set in the Sword Isles, a fantasy setting inspired by the refulent stories of Southeast Asia. You've got lots of beautiful art, etc., just to show what it looks like in the layout as well. And realistically, the rules are now finalised from the itch, I believe. And this Kickstarter was a way to obviously get it into people's hands as a hardback copy and as a book, as a box set, so to speak. So yeah, here's where you can download the quick start as well. That's where I got it from as well. But yeah, I'm excited. I will be honest, I am not someone that plays combat games or war-like games. I appreciate we did look at Never Going Home right at the beginning of the year. But yeah, it's just not my thing. And anything that says the word tactics in the title, I instantly go, okay. But I've heard so many good things about this, and people recommending me to have a quick look at it, so that is what I'm going to do. So hopefully we'll get through the quick start, which is about 62 pages, and then hopefully we'll enjoy it. And then I would actually highly encourage people to go check out the Kickstarter and hopefully get a chance of the hardback copy. My words are not helping me tonight, huh? Yeah, very cool. All right. So this should be, touch wood, the latest version of the Kickstarter. They keep putting out various versions of stuff. And you're like, oh, goodness me. Anyway, here we go. That's what I'm going to look at. So we have the quick start for 1 to 6 players for Gubat Banwa. It's interesting. So then we can have a solo. It's a solo game as well. There's rules to make it solo. So instantly that's like, oh, cool. I want to check that out for sure and see where we go from there. All right. Welcome, Kadungganan. I keep saying Kadungganan. That's not what it is. Kadunggana. To the final feast. Welcome to the warring realms. The gods and sages welcome thee to the centre of it all, the Sword Isles. Here you must inflict violence to prove your conviction. You must rely on your community to develop enlightenment. You must go head to head with god kings and oh wow, how do you pronounce that? Bodhis Atvas to live in glory. The warring realms need warriors, not heroes. Those willing to become kings to overthrow gods. Those willing to become gods to shape universes. In this land, crumbling under the weight of the wheel of violence, you must take its reins and become something else. Chakravartin, Devaraja, Shah, Sultan, Hari, Dios, Maharaja, violence until glory, Kadunggana. Ooh. What I did read, I was having a quick look at a couple of interviews done by the writers with Wakim, and they were saying that because obviously it is from Southeast Asian, and so they've written it in a certain way where the naming and the terms are familiar to people from that region, but also made it so that it is accessible in English, and so people aren't scared of pronouncing them. Now, bear in mind, I'm someone who just can't pronounce things for love nor money, so I am definitely going to be trying my best. But I very appreciate like trying to make something accessible, because it's basically this sort of game was meant to be like, I want this for my friends who come from the same culture as me, and I want to represent their experiences in this. But I want to open it up to the rest of the world as well. I just very much appreciate that. So, welcome to Gubat Banwa. It's a role-playing game of war drama and martial arts tactics set in a mythic classic Southeast Asia. You play, Kadungganan, an honourable warrior, braves, sage knights, and shaman princes alike who stand at the precipice of the end of days. This is a tactical grid combat RPG, which means a large proportion of gameplay fiction will come from combat. So yeah, kind of like the opposite of the kind of games I'm used to running or used to playing in. So it is more combat than roleplay. So it's different, interesting. I've got a bit about role-playing games. So role-playing games are exactly that. They are games wherein you play a role. This role is often within a fictional setting. The point of this particular role-playing game is to take on the role of a warrior hero in a violent and karmic fantasy Southeast Asia. It is similar to board games, the difference being that many of the mechanics, rules and procedures of this game is to facilitate a particular fiction, what goes on in the imagination being presented in the game, rather than just showing the interesting mechanical bits. I quite like that. It's a quite nice summary of what a role-playing game is. Things to know, this is a quick start. It means it will not have all the rules and mechanics. That is fine. It will have enough rules for drama and combat, but not the deeper parts of those rules. You can run a whole cycle with this, but the mechanics in the core rulebook give you even more options. Yes, they're called cycles, which I think I don't know if it's going to be like a structural cycle. Again, obviously I will come on to that in a second, but it did say from what I was reading that Gubat Banwa is isn't really a one-shot game. You can do it as a one-shot game, but you definitely need a couple of sessions to get into the sort of the vibes of it, the sort of the session, sort of the gameplay of it. So here is a primer of things you need to know. In traditional play, all players save one will be playing characters. Absolutely. Swap to YouTube. Twitch was misbehaving. Oh well, thanks for switching, Hatchling. I appreciate it. Yeah, you've not missed much. One player must take on the role of Uma Laga. Uma Lagard, a guardian spirit, an ancestor spirit that facilitates the rules and reveals Gubat Banwa to the. I'm gonna force myself to do this. Kadungganan. Whilst Kadungganan play as themselves, the Umlaga very often takes control of NPCs or non-player characters, as well as make sure that the world moves without the players depicting a living fiction. First of all, I'm always a big fan of giving names to like the GM and giving names to the players. Don't stop though. Give something to the non-player characters. give us something there as well. Appreciate and butchering it, but you don't stop, essentially. So you are a warrior. That is to say, you are not shackled to serve a single datu through debt. Kadungganan are just below aristocrats when it comes to the social order of Gubat Banwa. As a Kadungganan, you must find what to fight for, your convictions, and stick by them if you want a chance at changing the world. As Kadungganan, you raid and go on ventures, just like the Lords of Settlement. You commonly share war loot with the chiefs you choose to fight for. You do not need to render work but for any lord, though you must still remember your place in the order of things. You all live in Gubat Banwa. Gubat Banwa is the term for the setting as well, meaning war realms, and warring realms. In particular, however, the Kadungganan fight and die in the Sword Isles, a region in the center of Gubat Banwa. There are 5 major mandalas, known in the common tongue as Maham Mandala. Oh wait, it's Mandala. I'm being an idiot. Okay, Mahan Mandalas, great circles. Oh, yeah. That work as 5 major factions that have the great stake in changing the world, and these are detailed on the next page. The Mahan Mandalas. The Mahan Mandalas are the most powerful mandalas, circles of political influence in the Sword Isles, and thus they are most commonly found, and thus they are the most commonly found cultures. Mandala. Yeah, that's how I say it. Yeah. However, mandalas are not strictly states in the same way we know them. Mandalas have a city centre from which the power emanates. In it, they do not impose their culture upon others, but the others will adopt the greater culture's traditions from trade and the joy of exchange. Yes, it feels, I can imagine civilization already happening there. It's like, I've closed the borders, and yet they want pop music. Alright, so we're going to go into the different mandalas, aren't we? So, the Gatusan they've changed it around. The Gatusan Rahanate, right? Rahanate, that's it. The Grand Rahanate, led by the great Ponong Raha Batara Ambasi, the ancestor of the Tiger Lord Shiri Bishheya, the Tiger Prince of the Southeast. They are royal riders and fierce competitors who seek to get the most out of life and create poems out of living. From the dead, they create gods. They are inspired by the Hindu-Buddhist maritime kingdoms across Southeast Asia, including Sugbi, Bhutan, Maai, Java, Pasay, Shrivia, Lancastuke, Mataram, Kadiri, and Singasara. Singasara, yeah. The Apum King Kid. Apum Bu Kid. This is what you guys, you've let yourself in for me just badly pronouncing these names for the rest of your Sunday nights. I hope you got your washing on or something that you can do in the meantime. The Apum Bu Kid Confederation. The Apum Bu Kid Confederation. The protectors of Diwa, they uphold Haiyang and travel to places wherein Haiyang may be broken and destroyed, and they quell places of atrocity, expunging skurs and manifestors of Di Haiyang. According to Apu Dewa, they have been granted the ability to tap into the route paths, which lets them travel instantaneously across Gubat Banwa by walking into strangler figs. Oh, cool! Oh, all right, that's really cool. This causes the Apum Yukid to have settlements across the Sword Isles, and many other hinterland settlements are protected by them. A practice they've only begun doing recently in the face of the 8-star era. So yeah, that's the time period that we're in for this particular game. They are inspired by various living traditions of maritime Southeast Asia, who still practice much of their indigenous religions. The Marano, the Kalinga, the Bagobo, the Yakan, the Sub-Aini, the Dayak, the Balinese, the Danese, and the Batak, and the Batak. Lol, it's fine. Bad. Thank you, Deaf Dealer. I very much appreciate it. Okay, the Akai Sultanate, yeah. The exemplars of divine striving, chivalrous warriors that live in one of the greatest monarchs in Butwaganya, Gubat Banwa, a series of principalities across hundreds of islands in the footsteps of the gods, recognizing and paying fealty to a single sultana. Sorry, not the fruit. I know it's not the fruit, it's the person. Sultana. In the island of Siga, inspired by various sultanates of post-classic Southeast Asia, Sulu, Maguindano, Brunei, Manila, Aset, Johor, Gawa, and then Banten. We're almost there, I appreciate. The Verbanwa Lacanate. Conquerors and Imperials, Verbanwa was once the crown city of the Isohapan, West Indies, the seat of the Governor General, and the primary source of Isohapan's gold. With the success of the Lacan conspiracy, they managed to beat back the Pale Kings, but they have subsumed the worst part of their invaders' culture: imperialism, mercantilism, and zealotry. Inspired by colonial cities of Southeast Asia, the Spanish America Manila, Dutch Batavia, and Portuguese Malacca. Portuguese Malacca. All right. And finally, the Bay Kingdom. The Bay Kingdom. They politically. Gosh, I'm getting wrong with the actual words now. Sorry, not the actual words. English words now. They poetically called the First Kingdom in the Sword Isles will not bow to the rising tide of violence of the Festival of the Reddest Night. They believe their Sak Pam Igat De Yang Ka Ang It An to be a manifestation of the we did this before, Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva Lo Kaitsvara, the Queen of Mercy. She claims the title of Chakravarti. Yeah, it's Chakravarti, isn't it? Oh, I've never seen written down before. Chakravarti, yeah. Sort of, yeah. And wishes to expand the 9 directions to place all under her righteousness, to guide all living beings to glory. Inspired by the Hindu-Buddhist mainland kingdoms of Southeast Asia, or the ones with common Chinese connection, Bhutan, Mae, Champa, Phunna, Mae Japahit, Ayut Haya, and Khmer. Well, yes, all those places exist, and I've just got them completely wrong. Alright. What I do like, though, first of all, really nice. I really love these little, the crests that they've got. I really like that, and they're very vibrant as well. And quite clear. It's nice to see. And the other thing that not many places do is including where they what kinds of places are we thinking of when we're thinking of these particular nations, when we're thinking about these particular mandalas. Like, you know, sometimes it's quite nice to ground, like, oh, it's about the size of this kind of place, or this is the kind of vibe we're going for. Like, if I was going to describe, you know, like a fantasy city, but it's bustling, it's got everything that's happening. You know, you're never going to be want for entertainment or pubs, etc. Like, maybe I would describe places like London or Manchester or Birmingham. That idea that constantly lots of things are going on. Here, obviously, talking about places that I could then go and look up, perhaps, and like really get a sense of what that kind of nation is like, and like really think about like how could I play it sensitively, as well as grounding it into like some geography, like recent geography, which is quite cool. Alright, content warning. So, Gubat Banwa is filled with danger and violence. These things are integral to in the fiction. Thus follows concepts and contents. Thus follows the concepts and contents which you will most likely encounter in Gubat Banwa. It's important to have this mindset before diving deep into Gubat Banwa's gameplay. Alright, so first things first, class struggle. The tripartite society and debt-based societies are there to be questioned and combated. The game deals with slavery and bondage. It will come up that the Kadungganan are still technically in bondage to their rich masters and those that can provide homes for them. This can lead to an abusive relationships between lords and subjects, even with more complicated non-subject-based allegations. The power play is integral to Gubat Banwa's fiction, and the question of power is similarly reflected upon and open to analysis. Interesting, okay. I think that feels like quite a big pillar in this game, like quite a big theme, so it's good to have that up straight at the top. Then we have tremendous violence. Combat, action, Gubat Banwa is about violence and combat. Not necessarily war, but battle. Swords will be unsheathed, knives will be cut. The extent of the gore of this violence is up to your table, and Gubat Banwa does not revel in mutilation, but there will be death and combat. Complex interpersonal relationships. Gubat Banwa's systems are there to facilitate incredibly complicated interpersonal relationships that give onus to most of the major characters of the game. These relationships might be abusive or dangerous. Ooh, and then could have done with a little bit of formatting there, but romantic and sexual relationships will be common. Oh, I guess it's part of the interpersonal things, hasn't it? Though not needed, as power plays between relationships are thrown about. Religion is an important thread. There will be entire people powered by their faith. Religion and culture are intricately intertwined in the inspiration material. Gubat Banwa uses a very generous interpretation of gender roles in classic Southeast Asia. Don't worry about it too much. Be as weird as you can with genders and sexuality. That's cool. I like that. Be weird as you can with genders and sexuality. What a great phrase. So, non-standard defaults and perspective. Gubat Banwa inherently assumes a different kind of default. When we speak of kings, we're speaking of merit-filled, I'm going to say this right, Rajas. No, that's not it. Arajas. Clad in gold jewellery, riding elephants and or sailing with a retinue of peerless swordsmen and lancers. When we speak of dragons, we speak of sea and sky deities with bulging eyes and long fangs, defiled and revered. Few close to these. Okay. Due to the nature of the game, it is mandatory to play with safety tools. Please check out the X card and lines of veils at their core. Additionally, some of the content above can be avoided if need be. Focus on the parts of Gubat Banwa you want to play, and here's a good article on safety tools. That's cool. Yeah, lines, X-Guard, lines of veils, very standard stuff to offer. I would. Oh, it is. I can tell we can actually open this optional rule link. Maybe just make it in blue so we can actually see that. That's the only thing I'd say. For those that are wary, it's understandable. It's a different setting that is inspired by real underrepresented cultures. I appreciate the hesitation. My hesitation is that I can't pronounce anything, so instantly I'm like, oh, I don't want to get this wrong, but I know it's fail forward, so it's fine. Here are a few pointers to make sure you stay respectful, at least to us who made the game, whilst also having fun. Oh, that's great. I'm, very pleased that this is here early on, so that we can experience this and we treat it sensitively. So, this is fantasy. Remember, first and foremost, that this is a fantasy setting. Pre-Hispanic Philippines and pre-colonial Southeast Asia, are not time periods that we have had to lived experience of. We are reveling in our cultures as much as you will be. Fantasy is the main way I've been able to interface and explore our folklore and ancient cultures. Second of all, ditch the stereotypes, but please leave the stereotypes you have behind. This game might have an honor and debt system, but it's very different to what Asian stereotypes have led you to believe. Put any predispositions you have at the door, everything becomes more fun that way. 100% ready for that. Don't stress over the terms. Welcome to my world. If you're not from a Southeast Asian country, or heck, even if you are, it might be a bit difficult to memorize the non-English terms, or pronounce them in my case. That's all good. They are written that way the way they are for tone, and because I wrote this specifically for fellow Pilipion that would find these terms familiar, so fellow Philippine folks. If the terms are leading you to exercise, if the terms are leading you to exercise or other the setting, oh wow, keep the English terms. They're not too different. Here is a quick translation guides. So instead of, yes, we've got a whole list here, which is great. gives you an idea of sort of structure, maybe easy to transfer in as well. I'm going to try my best to keep pronouncing stuff because I need to get over it myself, but I appreciate my my pronunciation is rubbish at the best of times. And then don't stress over the setting. What would have been nice, sorry, go back to this, and maybe put this in its own little box or really highlight this. Be like, here's the translation guide, because and again, I know it's a quick start, it's in the book itself will probably have its own page and it'll obviously be expanded to include lots of terms, but just to really highlight this bit. I think this is obviously the it's the terminology bit where people will come back to it time and again to make sure they get it right if they're unused to a setting like this, or you know, from outside Southeast Asia. And then finally on this page it says don't stress the setting. Let me move pan. There we go. The setting is not historically accurate, and this is by design. Don't stress over historical accuracy either. Lean into the fantasy. You do not need to speak how the ancient Southeast Asians would speak. Keep English, and if you want to really get into the tone and vibe, speak ye old Shakespearean English to really emphasize the theatre and melodrama. Alright. Play. Oh, straight to it. Fantastic. So here's how we play. There are two major parts. There are drama and violence. You will need a square grid, a token or miniatures, and a full set of polyhedral dice. So d4, d6, d8, d10, d12, and d20, and percentile. Weirder dice, d2s, d3s, d5s can be replicated with their even number counterparts of d4s, d6, d10s respectively, and simply halving the result, rounding up. So for example, a 9 or 10 on the d10 is the result of 5. Very straightforward there. Divining the powers. When you do something that is risky, dramatic, or violent, collect a single 12-sided die, a d12, known as your skill die, and 4 8-sided dice, the 8s known as divination dice. And this is known as divining the powers. Risky, for example, might be running across a rooftop in the middle of a monsoon, attempting to stop an oncoming flood with a boulder, or trying to change a god's mind. Dramatic might be resisting the urge to slap your second husband across the face in the midst of a ritual festival. Choosing to expose your father to a committee of kings tearfully asking for your lover to give up her ideals. Oh, wow. And violent might be unleashing an assault of blades and steel, uttering undulating cantations to send bolts of fire, persuading someone with martial fists and words. Oh, interesting. If you don't have 4d8s, you can roll 4 different dice. 4 different dice. Statistically, it's the same. You're just looking for odds and evens anyway. Oh, interesting. Okay. Here's the step-by-step process to rolling. So, we choose the most relevant skill. Attempting to sway the hearts of men with an impassioned speech might let you add wrath, but trying to compel them with facts and reasoning might have you roll psalm. And then collect the divination dice. This will decide how difficult your roll will be. Roll them together and then read every dice. For every dice that is an even result, that is a good omen. For every dice that is an odd result, that is an ill omen. For example, for every ill omen, add +2 to your base difficulty. Add 2 to your base difficulty, and the base difficulty starts at 5, I assume. Here comes Mira. Oh, well, thank you, my friend. Nice to have you here. Thanks to Mira, obviously. We're just reading through Gubat Banwa, the quick start, so hopefully there's something interesting for you here. But thanks for coming, my friend. Then you roll your skill dice. So you first roll your divination dice, so that's those 4 d8s, fair enough. And then you roll your skill die, which is a d12. Add the relevant skill afterwards. The final result is equal to or higher than the difficulty, and that is a success. Oh, I see now. So those divination dice, they adjust the base difficulty, but they don't actually add anything to your roll. So the main roll is that skill dice of the d12. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, wait, no, hang on. Then roll your skill die, and then add the relative skill afterwards. Oh, so if it's a plus or something, right? If the final result is equal to or then higher than the difficulty, then it's a success. And on a success, you get what you set out to do. If the roll is lower, that's a failure. On a failure, you don't achieve what you want to do. what you want, achieve what you. Hang on. On a failure, you don't achieve what you do, and you suffer consequences, established or worse. So obviously that depends on the equal to or higher, but if the skill die is even, then you gain an advantage, even on a failure. Oh, okay. This could be something that gives you something beneficial, a tool for the next roll, better understanding of the situation. Keep it going. But if your skill die is odd, then you gain a setback, even on a success. This could be some sort of odd twist that sets you back, makes things take longer than usual, warrants your unwanted attention, or changes the fiction. Okay, that's quite cool. So then, having that odds or even things that sort of plays out, that's quite interesting because that idea of like you succeed but at a cost, or you fail but with some good stuff, some benefit. I quite like that. That's a really cool story element to put in there. This world is pierced through by fortunes and misfortunes of the gods, following down the paths of righteousness, performing proper obeisances. Obeisances. Being kind to the gods and caring for nature are all paths that accrue merit. The merit and demerit. So in this game, merit is gained from specific advantages gained from the fiction. This often comes from ancestor blessings, advantages, and observing proper rituals. Other times, it comes from benefits of equipment, proper items, and special techniques. Demerits come from curses from witches, the disfavor of the gods, worse training, bad equipment, and overall worse situation. So this is going to be like advantage, disadvantage, I'm guessing. So when you roll with merit, roll an extra skill die equal to the merit gained. Then choose a single die as the final result. Okay, so that's another d12. Similarly for demerit, you roll an extra skill die equal to the demerit gained. Oh, choose the worst result. Very often the lowest number skill die that is odd. Okay. Roll at the extra equal to the demerit gain. So you must gain some stuff. We must be attracted of then. Be good if we had an example, I guess. Maybe we'll have one in a second. I can see it there. We've got an example at the bottom there. Merit and demerit both stack up to 3 times. However, cancel each other out. So having 2 merit and 3 demerit means you have 1 net demerit. Well, that makes sense. If an action is particularly perilous or dangerous, like running across the rooftop at night in the middle of a storm, or in the midst of a storm, impose a demerit. At the same time, as decided by the fiction, if the one rolling is using gear, equipment, or abilities to help them, they can add a +1 to the roll. So, for example, if Yulia, the Lotus-Eyed, chose to step forward and dissuade the river spirit from leaving for fear of Aki bloodshed, she might roll ritual, in which she has 4, representing her priestly training. She has knowledge, however, that the spirit is in love with the priestess of the local village. Deciding this directly helps her, she adds a merit to her roll, and now she rolls 2d12 plus 4, keeping the higher d12 roll. Okay, but you still have to roll, so she's got 4. That's her skill, so I'm guessing she'd have to roll the 4d8s, right? One would assume. Hearten. If you choose to support a fellow Kadungganan, when they roll skill dice, define how and then give them merit to their roll. If they succeed, they become indebted to you. If they fail, ask them how they feel about your support not being much help. A roll can only benefit from 1 instance of hearten. Oh, okay. Violence. Violence for violence sake is not the rule of beasts, but the nature of divinity. Hand on your blade. Do you know what you must do? Cut or be cut. Violence until glory. Gubat Banwa is a game of rapid kinetic martial arts, violent sorcery, and heart heart. I'm guessing it's supposed to be rending. Hang on, heart. Oh, heart-ending conviction. Maybe heartbreaking, heart-ending convictions and bouts of will. Warriors that channel gods face sorcerers that master black arts. Martial artists who have unlocked a new form of cultivation clash swords with those that perfect the knight alchemies. Violence is a tactical affair. Never dive into violence if the outcome isn't certain. If the enemies are no match for the Kadungganan, or vice versa, resolve that in striving. Violence commonly lasts for 1 to 4 hours. Oof. Gubat Banwa assumes that violence will be a major focus of games, and every session might have 1 or 2, or is building up to the eventual breakout of one. Gubat Banwa's combat system is known as the Thundering Tactics Battle System, or TTB. It focuses on blistering quick martial arts in a grid environment where every attack is a flurry of blows and every defense are perfect parries. Oh. So when violence breaks out, the Umlagad, or one of the Kadungganan must do the following in order: define the victory and defeat conditions, lay out the battle grid. So you actually, so it makes sense that you'd have to have a VTT for this if you're playing online. Make this 16 by 16, do not make it smaller than 10 by 10, and do not make it larger than 24 by 24. Define the terrain, according to the fiction, i.e. where the fight is taking place. Define elevation, then go around the table asking each player to point out either one object, one terrain type, or one elevation change. Then define the weather. Put down enemies. These are those opposed to the Kadungganan. I'll get there eventually. And are hindering them from achieving their victory objective. Make sure to keep the violence score in mind. You may use divination rules to generate names and traits for each enemy as the need comes up. Choose a starting zone. This usually is a 4 by 2 zone, starting from any side or corner, as makes the most fictional sense. A Kadungganan must choose one tile within the zone to deploy their fighters in. Divine the will of the powers. Roll 4d8 and divine what that means. This is the only time you'll be rolling to divine the powers. When violence erupts, lightning from a storm cloud utters the violence mantra, seize heaven's thunderclaps of violence until glory, and then the fight begins at resound 1. Ooh, okay. I feel like it's a very cool idea. I'm already like, oh, it's in person. What does that mean? Oh, it's not in person, but it's using a grid. Obviously it's a tactics game, it's a war game, so it would make sense. But I'm like, oh, interesting. The Wandering Dog Hero. So if you're playing solo and the enemies number more than double the number of fighters on your side, on the battlefield your side has a number of rifts equal to the enemies per resound, although not consecutively as much as possible. And a single fighter should not riff again if another fighter on your side has not yet riffed. Sure. Braves and chiefs count as 2 fighters and 4 fighters respectively for the purposes of counting. I'm guessing these are different levels or different tiers of NPCs. So, divine the will of the powers. When you begin a fight, one of you, most likely the Umlaga, has to roll 4d8. Divine the will of the Iwata. Read the results. For every even result, each player gains a thunderbolt. For every odd result, add a +1 to the Gabe. If there are equal amounts of odd and even results, or if there are more odd results, an enemy riffs first. If there are more even results, a Kadungganan riffs first. So I'm guessing goes first. victory/defeat conditions. These must be defined before the fight begins. The default in tactics games are defeat all enemies. Below, there's some more ideas. Oh, that's cool. So you actually define what the fight is. It's not necessarily like beat up everyone, but like here we have, defeat the leader, recruit 4 fighters, make an offering at all 4 shrines. Defeat conditions could be that an ally is defeated, or a particular place is breached. Items are used. Okay, that's really interesting. So on defeat, remember too that defeat, the Kadungganan, will almost never mean death for them. They are too precious to kill. They will usually be captured, made to do new adventures for their new master, whom they now owe obligations. As always, remember that the laws of Rosy Gold. As always, remember the law of Rosy Gold. Unless otherwise stated, every fighter in violence is aware and ready and is actively defending and attacking unless their status has changed. Death is never the end. Okay. Then we have the rhythm. So this is the initiative order, I believe. So the rhythm is the turn order of Gubat Banwa. We begin from resound 1, as in resounding of a gong struck once. Okay. So resounds. Resounds are usually 12-second long engagements of hand-to-hand combat and esoteric sorcery. Martial arts moving at the same time, waiting, sizing each other up, training blows, or performing combinations. For both fun and consistency, the fight has been split up into resounds, which are made up of riffs. Most fights last for 3 resounds on average. I see, so resounds is more like it's a round of combat, and then the riffs are your turns. When violence begins, a Kadungganan, or an NPC, riffs, as established by the divining of the will of the powers. Then you alternate. After a player is an NPC and vice versa. However, each fighter can riff only once per resound. This means if there are more enemies than players, they will most likely have an action advantage. That's fine. The Kadungganan. Oh, come on. Kadungganan can handle it. A resound ends when all fighters have riffed. The first riff of the next resound depends on who riffed last. If it was an NPC, then it would be a player who riffs first. Choosing who to riff is difficult, and for NPCs you're playing solo, follow the common rhythm. So we got Sentinels riff first, followed by Witches and Raiders, then Sharpshooters, then Mediums. Alright. Rhythm, resounds, riffs and beats. Gubat Banwa's turn order is inspired by the fact that in ancient Southeast Asia, wars would be signaled with the clanging of gongs and drums. But every part of violence, therefore, is music related. Oh, cool. Additionally, in the Anunvara and faith, the foundational essence of the world, is in sound. Each resound is usually 12 seconds long, as a resound can change depending on the established fiction. So think that every time you spend a beat, that's taking time. Remember that a lot of things require time, so if anything that asks you to take time, that very often needs you to spend a beat. Alright. Outside of your riff, break. Kadungganan are always moving. Even if it's not their time to riff, they have a floating action ready to use at any given time. Outside of your riff, you always have one break. Once you spent it, you cannot break again until you refill them at the start of your rift. By default, there is no break-based techniques. You gain them from your signature techniques and anting. Breaks always have a trigger from which you can use the break in that specific moment. When that trigger happens in a specific area and against a specified target. Break at the start of your rift. Okay, so it is essentially, like, I'm assuming it's kind of like a reaction. Or not. We'll find out. Riff. So, oh no, that's talking about breaks, isn't it? Riff, the fighters move. They activate fulminating into action. Start step. So regain any spent break. So obviously this is a breakdown of your riff, your breakdown of your turn. So we regain any spent break. We suffer any damage from a flame. Heal from regeneration. End any effect that ends at the start of your rift. Trigger thunderbolt effects, including gaining them, if any, and then perform any effect that triggers at the start of your rift. This can be done in any order chosen by the one inflicting the effect. If there's conflict, the Kadungganan resolve first. Okay, so that's all in that first starting step. Okay, and then your action step is you get 3 beats to spend to do techniques, and you can never have more than 5 beats. The following are the basic techniques that every fighter can do, usually costing 1 beat each. I'm going to read the violent fiction one next, so hang on. So in the fiction, just moving about is already peppered with many details that you can hone in on to gain thunderbolts, such as running across walls when you rush, or performing intricate katas when you deflect. When enemies are adjacent to each other, or when enemies move across each other or beside each other, even when no attacks are being thrown out, it is safe to say that they are constantly trading blows with others they're adjacent to, like in a Wu Zai film, possibly. Rush is a movement or a move, but a move is not a rush. If an effect explicitly says when you rush, that's pertaining to the basic technique rush and not in movement in general. I see. Oh, here's some base. I see. I thought the basic techniques were going to be really in depth, but it turns out not so much. So, basic techniques we have climb, which is double your jump and then move 1 tile. Deflect, which is inflict demerit on all attacks against you until the start of your next rift. Ooh. Inflict violence, attack an enemy using one of your discipline's 3 inflict violences. Interact, use this to use an item that you have, anything that triggers an interaction, or improvise and do anything to the environment following the fiction. This cannot make attacks. Rally, heal a quarter of your max POS. What's POS, huh? Hopefully it will tell us in a second. 1 violence, but you can use... I'm guessing that's spending it, right? But you can use this again by spending 1 thunderbolt. Or maybe taking the damage, perhaps. Rush. You move a number of tiles up to your, I'm guessing, speed. Flipping, sliding, twirling, even diagonally. You cannot move through enemies. Fair enough. But you can move through allies, but not end in their tiles. And then shove is choose an adjacent fighter and push them to 1 tile. And we go to our end step. So at the end of the rift, you can do the following in order. So suffer damage from poison. End any effect that ends at the end of your rift. Trigger thunderbolt effects, including gaining them, if any, and then perform any effect that triggers at the end of your rift. This can be done in any order, chosen by the one inflicting the effect. If there is conflict, the Kadungganan resolve first. It's good, it gives that. Okay, so we have... Okay, it's a bit... again, makes sense because it's tactically minded. We have that start set, that intro step. We've got to check these off. I think I would have this printed out for the players to see. Those basic techniques are quite good. I like the fact you could do all these, so it breaks it down for you, so I quite like that. It'd be interesting to see what POS stands for. I'm guessing that SPD is speed. Max... potential? I don't know. And then you got an end step as well. Okay. Damage, obviously, DMG. Not Dungeon Master's Guide. Damage compounds you, withers away at your strength. Whenever you receive damage, add it on top of the current damage you already have. If the damage you suffer meets or exceeds your POS, why am I going PSO? POS, then the damage that puts you equal to or over your POS is a killing strike, and you suffer defeat. You cannot suffer more damage than your POS, so it must be something to do with your health or something. While you have a number of damage equal to half your POS or more, you are staggered, representing your waning defenses and exhaustion. Your blade grows brittle. Okay, so it's almost like bloodied condition then. Okay. And then defeat. When you suffer a killing strike, you become defeated, and you you... Sorry, it moved up a little bit. You suffer a mortal wound. You're unfocused. You're grasping at life. Reeling, don't give up now, into the tiger's lair. Whilst defeated, every time you suffer damage, you instead suffer one more wound. And whilst defeated, you suffer the same penalties of stunned. Once you are healed for any amount, you're brought out of defeated. You have found a second wind. When you gain 5 wounds, you may decide how to justify. You may decide to justify how your conviction lets you hold on. If you do, spend a thunderbolt and then mark your conviction. That must change before the next session. Then ignore the 5th wound and remove damage equal to your staggered value. Otherwise, you are killed and removed from the battlefield. Okay, so you get 5 wounds. Does you... yeah. Ah, I see. This must change before the next session. Ignore the 5th wound. I see. So this is like your last chance saloon, essentially. That you use your conviction, hold you on, and then you spend that thunderbolt, and then mark it, and then that must change before your next session. So you must change that conviction to something else, whilst you remove that 5th wound, and then remove the damage equal to that staggered value. That's quite good. Okay. When you find repose, heal all damage, but not wounds. When you're healed, you heal damage only. You only heal wounds during downtime, provided you have enough time to heal them, and even then, you only heal 1. Okay. Running D100 or 2D10, choosing one for 10s and the other for 1s. When an effect says that you have an X chance of something taking place, you must roll equal to or under X for the illicit effect to take place. So a bit like Call of Cthulhu there. Additionally, when you're not sure about fictional interactions, you can roll 50% chance of it happening or not. So just flip a coin, essentially. The triple cut. Some effects might be expressed as X/Y/Z. These simply correspond to the appropriate... Wait, these simply correspond to the number you used in the appropriate rank. I'm guessing this carries on here, but this feels like it's a brand new section. I think it is. It'd be good to have an example, though. A Kadungganan's strength and glory is honed and sharpened as their legend grows. Legend separates Kadungganan from the normal warrior. You gain +2 posture per legend. Okay, is that... I don't understand what that is, though. Is that like a... I'm guessing that's related to the triple cut, but I'm not entirely sure. Aura. Some effects will talk about an aura. An aura is a persistent effect that emanates from a point of origin like a burst, but does not affect those in the middle of the burst. Aura 1 means all adjacent squares. Aura 2 is 2 squares away from you, and so on and so forth with a burst. Okay, that's good to know. Again, using that battlefield mindset. Let's read the side. Posture. Every attack in Gubat Banwa is a fierce exchange of blows, parries, catching, or evading. This is why posture is used. Every instance of damage reduces your composure, in battle until you are blown wide open and suffer mortal wounds, forcing you to become defeated. Attributes and prowess. There are 2 major stat lines used in battle. Attributes, the ones you practice from your discipline, and prowesses are your Kadungganan's Kadungganan's combat skills. Oh, POS is posture. Ah, I see. I would not have got that, I don't think. So attributes, we've got posture, which represents your composition. Or composition. Your composure, the speed of your defensive maneuvers, and your ability to parry blows into glancing strikes or weather blows that do strike home. Staggered is when you have damage equal to half your posture value or higher. Wait. Oh, yes. Equal to half your you have more damage than your posture. That's fine. Yeah, more than half. Higher than half. Yeah, I get you. Speed determines how many tiles you can move. Yeah. Jump determines how much of an elevation difference you can leap up or fall from. You cannot move to a tile that has elevation difference greater than your jump. So a 2 jump means you cannot go up to a tile which has +3 elevation from a 0 elevation. That makes sense. And then we have evade. Determines how well you can completely avoid an attack's effects. So those I'm guessing are the 4 attributes we've got, and then we've got prowesses, which are our combat skills. The prowesses, like skills, they start at 1 and never go above 8. Doesn't actually say here what they do or where they start. I assume it starts at 1 then, if it says here. They never go above 8, but discipline bonuses can take it higher. That makes sense. You start with 4 points to spread at the character creator, but none of them can go above 3. Alright, looks like we've got 4 here. So we've got ferocity, spirit, parry, and resilience. Ferocity determines the strength, speed, and force of your physical skills, strikes, and weapon assaults. Spirit determines the strength of your spirituality, the sharpness of your will, or your esoteric knowledge, or otherwise your ability to tap into forces beyond mortal ken. And then parry is your ability to deflect, turn away, dodge, or otherwise triumph against most physical attacks. Hesitation is defeat. This is a defense. Then resilience is your toughness, hardiness, ability to weather the hurricane, magical effects, and other mystic harm. Gained through conditioning, meditation on the principles of the universe, undulating. That's not it. Never mind. I know what I mean. I'm not going undulating. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look this up afterwards. This is in my head in. The diamond body mantra, saying or chanting the diamond body mantra. This is a defense. Yeah, I know. I've seen that word before, and it's. I'm struggling to say it. Multiple dice. If a technique's violent die has more than 1 die, for example 3d4, then you count each dice separately for the purpose of evade and chains and criticals. If you roll a 3d4 melee attack and you roll a 1, 4, 4, and then you roll 2 more chains dice, the 1 is considered evaded. An attack with multiple dice is often only considered considered evaded if all dice are evaded. Otherwise, the evaded dice is simply not added to the damage. Okay. Guess. Gubat making attacks. When you wield your martial art to commit tremendous violence upon another, choose a specific technique, choose an appropriate target, and then roll the appropriate dice. Your violence dice, expressed in most effects as a dx, so d8, d12, etc. Any modifications to violent dice are applied here. This can bring the violent dice's result to higher than its maximum, i.e. if you rolled an 8 on a d8 and you have a +1 to violence and it becomes a 9. Fair enough. If a melee attack and you roll the highest number it's a melee attack and you roll the highest number on your die, you chain. I see, you chain yes, I see, I understand that. I was like, on your die, you die? No. If it's a range attack and you roll the highest number on your die, you critically hit. If the violence dice rolled equal to or lower than the defender's evade stat, the offender evades the attack and its effects completely, and the attack ends. Okay. I'm going to have to read through an actual play of this, an example play of this. If the effects of a technique are evaded by the defender, if they're supposed to affect the target. If they affect other entities, then that effect still applies to other entities. Okay. Then add the technique's attacking stat, whether it be ferocity or spirit, along with any other damage modifiers. This is your initial damage. Then the defender defends. The defender reduces the initial damage equal to the appropriate defenses as defined by the attack, either parry or resilience. Resilience, yeah. Add any other damage modifiers here. Afterward, this is the total damage. If the damage is reduced to 0 or below, it still deals 1, which is the minimum damage, and you gain the total damage as damage. Okay, first of all, I have no idea what I just read. Let's try that again. So, choose the appropriate targets and then roll the appropriate dice, or violent dice. So if it's a melee, but if I roll the highest number on either of these things, I either chain, whatever that means. Presumably you get to roll again, like almost like it explodes, or you range and you get critically hit. But if the violence dice is equal to or lower than the defender's evade stat, it evades the attack completely. But it sounded like if it had multiple ones, it's only considered evaded if all the dice are evaded. So if I rolled, for whatever reason, I critically hit with 1d8, and I rolled an 8 and a 7, and then I don't know, an 8 and a 7. If I rolled, like, if the evader stat is a 7, then only the 8 goes through. So it's not evaded completely, but yes, I think that's right. And the effects of the technique are evaded by the defender if they're supposed to affect the target, but it affect other people, the other entities as well. Then add the technique's attacking stat, whether it be ferocity or spirit, and this is the initial damage. So, I guess the violence roll is just to get through the evasion, and then it defends, either parry or resistance. Add any damage modifiers here, and then if that parry or resilience reduces that damage to 0, it only gets 1 damage, or you're getting the total damage if it isn't able to as a result. I think, who knows? Gosh, that is so difficult to get my head around. I don't think I've even got that right. Okay. The order of operations. So when rolling, rarely will you need to divide or multiply. In general, follow this. Multiply, then divide, then add, and then subtract. Adjacency. In the battle grid, every tile that touches a side or a corner of your own tile, or the 8 tiles around you, as well as the 1 squares +1 or -1 on elevation of you, they're technically touching your tile as well as a 3-dimensional plane, are adjacent to you. Okay. Vertically, not vertically, it's vertical. Let's see. Determining the distance is as follows: count their distance horizontally as normal, starting from adjacent the origin tile. Then count how much elevation difference between the origin and the target. Okay, this is on the battle map. The higher of the two is the distance they are from the origin tile. Right. I guess. Oh, I see. So these are 2 separate numbers you're getting, right? So say if they were 4 squares away from me, but 2 higher, for example. 4 and 2. The higher is the distance they are from the original, so they're 4 squares away from me. Sure. Three attack types. We've got melee attacks, we've got range attacks, we've got area attacks. The melee attacks targets nearby fighters. It benefits from flanking, which makes sense for a tabletop sort of grid-like game. And chain. So when we roll the highest result possible or higher on the violence dice, roll another dice and add it on top, known as your change dice. This dice does not keep any modifiers, but can keep chaining until it no longer rolls a chain. So yeah, almost like exploding dice, essentially. So you keep rolling as long as it keeps exploding, so to speak. Range attacks. Targets far away are fighters, affected by vantage. If attacking at a target below the minimum range, suffer 2 detriment. Oh, I guess that's close quarters, right? So, or point blank range, kind of. Yes, close quarters. Yeah, you get disadvantage. Well, you get 2 demerits. Sorry. Can critical hits. So when we roll the highest result possible, or highest result possible, or higher on a violence dice, simply add the attack's defined prowess again to the damage. So yeah, range attacks all about damage, and then melee attacks is just chaining as much as possible, which could also do damage, to be fair. Then finally we've got area attacks. So these are the only attacks that can target multiple fighters and will have a pattern, so like a burst, a blast, a line, or a path. Does not benefit from vantage or flanking, whereas that range one does. I assume vantage means like the higher you are, the more likely you are to hit. Like you will get merits because you are higher, and is that right? And then higher up, the higher target. I'm just thinking of Baldur's Gate 3 and their They're stupid rules about advantage, disadvantage on if someone's higher than you or lower than you. An attack with area free, range free burst 1 can let you choose a point of origin within a range of 3 tiles of you, and then erupts a burst of 1 from that. Cool. Okay, that makes sense. I get that terminology. When performing area attacks, roll damage once for all targets. If your attack would do more damage to one target within an area, add extra dice just for that target, or roll merit and demerit just for that target. When counting ranges, you start from the minimal range, always. 2 means you're starting to count from any tile that is exactly 2 tiles away from you. Effects that affect yourself must say either self or range of 0, meaning it starts counting from your tile. Most ranged effects are in the range of X to Y, so that's the bandwidth. Like, for example, it says there 3 to 5 means the target can be within 3 to 5 tiles of you. X is the minimum range and Y is the maximum range. Yes, I get that. If there's only one number, then the target must be exactly X tiles away from you. So a fighter with in range 3 is any fighter that is exactly 3 tiles from you, no more, no less. Yes, I get that. Stronger the enemy, fiercer the heart. On an attack, if you do just 1 or less damage on all targets, or your attack is evaded by all targets of that attack, gain a thunderbolt. This retribution extends to enemies. If their attack deals 1 damage or their attack is evaded, add 1 to the Gaba pool. Okay, so it's like giving you like a 1-up essentially. Combo Breaker. Attacking relentlessly brings the threat of overreaching. On your second attack in a Rift, suffer 2 demerits. On a third attack beyond it, and a third attack and beyond in a Rift, you suffer 3 demerits. Yes, because you're constantly overreaching. That kind of makes sense. Tactical considerations. The following are tactical modifiers. We've got flanking. I was going to say this. So if you and an ally are standing on both sides or corners of a target, you're flanking. They gain a merit against the flanked fighter. I think in the core book, it actually has drawings of the maps on this. I'll see if I can find them afterwards. Advantage is that if you make a ranged attack against a target on the lower elevation, gain a merit. On higher, suffer demerit, and area attacks and all this. Fine. Done. That's easy enough. Targeting. Objects that can be targeted by any effect, even if it says ally. If you have line of sight and effect to a target, they are a valid target and can be attacked. Otherwise, the attack is invalid. Line of sight and effect. When making an attack, draw an invisible line from the center of the origin tile to the center of the target's tile. If the line is obstructed in any way by blocking terrain, the attack targets the thing blocking the line instead. Okay, that makes sense. Most attacks also require line of sight to be able to pick that target in the first place. Enemies block line of sight or line of effect. Allies do not. They can flip corkscrew over your flying blades or fire mentala. Shooting across elevations. If your line of sight goes through an elevation that has a difference of 1, it goes normally, but 2 or more is then considered that as blocking terrain. Yeah, so that makes sense. So it's sort of the terrain comes up to meet it, and then it absorbs the firebolt, is what I'm thinking. Okay, merit and demerit in violence. Well, it's similar to striving. When you roll violent dice, you must roll an extra number of dice equal to the number of merit or demerit, and then you keep the highest roll or lowest roll respectively. They can still cancel each other out. If the attack's violence is a flat number instead of a die, you simply add +1 merit or -1 merit. Oh, that's quite interesting. If you just like, maybe they do like average. Oh, I take the average roll, and then you add 1 merit. Yeah, that makes sense. If an attack's violence die is 2 or more dice, you add an extra number of dice equal to your merit, but you only keep the highest X, with X being the number of violent dice. For example, if you roll 3d4 and add 2 merits, you roll 5d4 and keep the highest 3 results. Oh, okay. Guard. When you guard something, it is almost always adjacent. While guarding another fighter, when they suffer an attack, there's a 50% chance of the target changing to you instead of the original target. Guard breaks when you move or are moved further away from the one you are guarding. Area patterns. Area attacks don't benefit from vantage, flanking, nor suffer proximity. Area attacks always have patterns that define how their shape looks. Blocking terrain stops a pattern's movement. Only bursts and blasts wrap around blocking terrain, but only if it's large enough for it. Finally, blast and burst have their horizontal size equal to their vertical size. So, for example, a blast 3 affects 3 by 3, and all fighters within a +3 and -3 elevations. So, okay, so we're now having to think 3D-ish, which could be quite fun actually. I guess, I mean, the rules are going over my head a little bit, but I'm sure it's fine. Like, if you did a physical battle map, so think about that. You have to think 3D, not sort of just out towards you and to the side of you. It's above you and below you as well. Paths and lines still must have their squares touching each other. Thus, a 3-line tile cannot suddenly move through the tiles of the same elevation. And then another 3 that is of another tile. And then another tile that is +3. This means all lines of paths can only affect those in a +1 or -1 elevation difference of you. Yes, since the square's still touching. Yeah, I understand that. There we go. Here's the images. They're pretty cool, aren't they? I'd have had them earlier, but it's okay. It's alright. So, for example, here, X is every tile within an origin point. If there's no range, then the origin point is the caster. So to the left is an example of a range-free burst one. So this attack happens 3 squares away, and it attacks those people within one square of that. If it was a range 0, it would occur around the person here. Then blast. X is how wide and tall in squares the box is, but one tile must be adjacent to the origin point. For example, to the right is an example of blast 2. So yeah, so it has to come from here, and it will. Not only is it 2 by 2. Yeah, it's 2 by 2. It makes sense there, so that's a blast effect there. Then we have a line. So shaped. Oh, we don't have an example of a line. I'm guessing there was one. So it's shaped like a straight line from the origin point, but can be horizontally diagonal, but can only be fired straight from the origin point and not any other way. If the starting point is adjacent, then the rest of the line must also continue along the adjacent path in a straight line. To the left of us, although it's not there, is a line 4. So, for example, if this guy was doing a line of 4, it would, but it's coming from the adjacent one to them. Or it could be even horizontal. So say it came from here, so it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or even I'm guessing 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm guessing 1. Hang on. So was it identified directly from origin? But if we start with a point adjacent, the rest of the line must continue along the adjacent. Oh, unless we can do horizontal, but yeah, I understand. So it's almost like the way Queen moves in chess. So you go up to the sides, and then horizontal, but you can't. Yeah, you can't do. Yeah, I understand. I get you. And then a path, like line, it's a line. Oh dear. But you can snake around, even diagonally, as long as all the squares of the path are touching each other. To the right is an example of a path 4. Oh, that's really cool. I like those ones. You can really work out who gets what there. Mantras. So mantras are keywords appended to techniques to modify them. Amongst the sages of the Sword Isles, mantalas are magical formulas written in esoteric matarums upon bamboo strips used to perform a large variety of mystical effects. Most formal practices have since used this format to codify their various methodologies. We have an ally. Oh, so this is the terminology thing? Fair enough. So we've got attack, which we said. We've got aura, if we don't need to read this out. Conducts electricity. Anything that conducts electricity, such as water and metals, suffers a plus d6 damage when suffering lightning attacks. And then all fighters within a burst of that target are shocked. Okay, that's quite cool. I can imagine this, because it feels very video gamey in a way, but with a grid. Let's see, so fields, what does fields mean? Excuse me. Fields are lingering zones in the battlefield like smoke or changing tides. They last till the end of the scene or until overwritten. New fields write older fields on each square. In general, you cannot have two of the same fields on the battlefield. For example, you can't have two blazing fields. Putting another field of the same type down would remove the previous field of that type. Putting down a second blazing field will cost the first blazing field to peter out. Okay, so they feel like environmental things. Fighter, an active participant in the violence. Okay, yeah. Finisher, this technique can only be used as the final beat in your rift. You cannot spend thunderbolts to gain more beats after you've used a finisher. Oh, that's like a cool finishing move, right? You can spend another beat to activate a specific technique's flurry effect. Okay. And you've got immune. Opener can only be used as the first beat. Okay, so it must be like specifically defined in their moves or in their attack mantras. Okay. Unavoidable. Attacks with this tag cannot be applied. Evade against. Okay. Cannot have evade stats being applied against them. The following mantras define an attack's types. Oh, so they're adding tags to it. I understand now. So when you attack, it might say physical or soul, and it tells you what kind of damage is being done. Often, physical attacks have larger violence dice. We've got soul, we've got fire, we've got water, we've got cold, we've got wind, we've got lightning, we've got poison, we've got gleam. That's cool. Alright, status effects. Status effects are those that change the status of a fighter. This includes being set aflame, being burnt, or dazed by combatants. Cleansing. Commonly, status effects will last for the entire violence unless they have a cleanse clause. When a status effect is cleansed, it is removed from the affected fighter. Okay, so that's, yeah, almost like, yeah, it is removing the status. Overwrites. Any effect that overwrites another effect, such as strengthened, overwriting debilitated, and vice versa. If you first cleanse the overwritten effect, then you gave the overwriting effect. Oh, okay. There are two kinds of status effects. We've got blessings and we've got afflictions. Blessings are beneficiaries and succor. Beneficial effects that make you stronger and grant the fighter some sort of positive effect, whilst afflictions are malices, yeah, and conditions, sicknesses and pestilence, negative effects that weaken a fighter and make them vulnerable. An attack or effect afflicts a status that target is already suffering, the status is not applied again, so you don't get them several times. Oh, we've got a list of afflictions here. We've got a flame, we've got bleeding, we've got chilled, we've got confused. And each of these have a different sort of condition that you have to do, which makes sense with that structure we got before from the first beat, the main beats, and then the end, intro step, main step, ending step. You know, doused, juggled. You've been knocked into the air and are helpless against violence. Oh wow, poisoned. Slowed, shocked, stunned, and wide open. Okay, so how many is that? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, 13. Oh, unlucky for some. Then blessings, we've got float, haste, protect, regenerating, stealth, strengthened. So we only have 6. And I see now, if I go back a little bit. Where is that? We got start step. So obviously it talks about here. So these steps are like suffer damage from a flame. That's if you have the flame condition. I appreciate that. I would take this out. I would take those out of the. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? Yes. Oh no. Knew it. So these are conditions. So it's either you suffer damage from this condition or you heal from this condition, and then any effects that have been activated from part of your techniques, I want to say, and then any thunderbolt effects, etc. This needs to be reduced down. Like I can imagine that it says here, like the damage from the poison that's in the last effect. Like we don't need this in the overall structure. I don't think. Certainly at when you're just starting out. Because they regain spent break, for example, that could be in brackets. These two, if we put it into one saying, what's it saying? The condition, like check condition to meet requirements, i.e. suffer damage from a flame or heal from regenerating. I just think there's a lot there that doesn't necessarily happen. How often are you going to be on fire? How often are you going to have the blessing to be regenerating? And same for the bottom bit as well. I understand why they've got it. I would just make it really super simple. Just because I'm going to be handing this out to players. Let's move on. Status effects we've done. Blessing affinities. So there are 2 affinities. Vulnerable and resistant. Okay, makes sense. When you suffer damage from an attack that you're vulnerable, you plus a d6 to the damage, which is your vulnerable dice. When you suffer damage that you're resistant to, reduce the damage by d6, and which is the resistant dice. So you've got names for vulnerability dice and resistant dice, but nothing for NPCs. Usually the defender will roll this, reducing the damage before the final total damage is dealt. As always, resistance dice cannot reduce the damage below 1, so you'll always get 1 damage no matter what. You can have multiple vulnerability or resistant dice if your attack has multiple mantras. Right. The physical fire and gleam against a dead enemy will give you 2d6 vulnerable dice and 1d6 resistant dice. Both vulnerability dice and resistant dice modify damage, but not the violent die. Okay. If an effect would apply multiple statuses at the same time, you choose in which order to apply those statuses. This means that, yes, you can apply them in such a way that takes advantage of the resistance. You can endow then shock to deal extra damage. Oh yeah, that feels very much like you do a turn-based RPG to get the extras. Effects that apply multiple statuses often require setup, so the major drawback is time. Yeah, because you're doing like turn-based combat essentially. I get you. Movement. So movement is any adjacent tile costs 1 point of movement. Commonly, you'll be moving up to your speed. Rushing is explicitly movement that is stylish and unique to you. You might be leaping off walls, swinging with wires, or stepping with the lightness technique. You can move through allies but not end in their tiles. We know that from before. You cannot move through enemies unless your technique has tumbling. You cannot move diagonally across blocking terrain or enemies. You must go around them. Yeah, you can't go. Yeah, absolutely. Remember that elevation has that has a difference of 2 from your tile is considered blocking terrain. Anything that has you leaving a tile except for teleportation is movement. Okay, that's good to clarify. Jump is required for vertical movement, so if your jump is 2, you have an allowance that gets you onto a tile of +2 or -2 from the tile you are leaving. You cannot move into a tile that is on an elevation that's higher than your jump trait. If you have a jump of 2, you cannot move to a tile that is +3 elevation from you. But obviously if you jump up to a +2, that elevation goes down to a +1, so you'll be able to do it on the next turn, I'm guessing? If you fall from a tile that is from an elevation greater than your jump, you suffer XD6 true damage, with X being the difference in the elevation that you fell. So for example, wow, sorry, I'm just reading the example there. That's wild. If you push to a 0 elevation tile from a +6 elevation, and you only have 2 jump, you have to suffer that full damage, which is 66 true damage. What's true damage? Feels like honest damage. Flying. Excuse me. This is a rare sort of movement. Some beings are constantly flying. When something tells you to fly X, you consider flying for the duration of that movement. When you're flying, you ignore all terrain and elevation and impose demerit on all melee attacks against you. You can move over enemy tiles, but you can't end your move in them. Forced movement. Being knocked around in the environment is an integral part of Gubat Banwa's fictional violence. Forced movement ignores speed. Every forced movement is either up to or a specific number. Any up to forced movement, i.e. push up to 4 tiles, can be moved from 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4 tiles. Yeah, so you can choose, you don't have to go the full range of it. A specific number, i.e. throw 3 tiles, means it must be 3 tiles exactly. Forced movement ignores difficult terrain. In general, all force movement must be done on the same horizontal plane except for pull and throw. There are 4 kinds of force movements. We've got push, pull, slide, and throw. Push is force movement that pushes away. It cannot be to the sides, it must be further from you. A good way to count is if the target is being pushed away, each tile they move must be 1 tile away from you when you count range. Pull is the opposite, it's pulling it 1 tile closer to you. You can pull fighters to a higher elevation as long as they are within range of pull. See verticality on a page that's not in this book. Fantastic. Slide is a force movement in any direction. And a throw is a force movement in a direction away from you, and the target must be farther from you. It doesn't move through intervening tiles, they arc over them and only move into the final tile chosen, colliding only with the target tile. If they collide with a fighter on the tile they end up in, they suffer collide and then move into an adjacent tile to the target. You can throw a fighter to a higher elevation as long as the target tile is within range. Okay. Ugh. God, I realise now why I wasn't picking this game before. Collide. So when a target is pushed into a higher elevation or forcibly moved into a blocking terrain, object, or another fighter, they collide. They suffer 2 damage and return to the last tile they left, and then the force damage movement immediately ends no matter how much movement is left. Teleport is kind of special. It's not movement, it is displacement. You remove yourself from your current square and place yourself in the square you choose to be in. This means you do not trigger effects that happen when you move. Teleportation ignores all terrain and all elevation. The Sword Isles are filled with warriors of all kinds. More than one culture has traditions that tell the old story. The original inhabitants of the the Sword Isles, I keep reading old up there, were giants filled with spiritual power, closer to the gods than mortals. In general, larger sizes are treated as size 1 when it comes to effects. For example, you can't hit a size 2 enemy twice with an area effect. They only suffer leave 1 square effects once every time they move. Okay. When moving or counting ranges with a fighter that is size 2 or higher, choose any of the tiles they're occupying as the origin tile, then count from there as you would normally count a size 1 fighter. After the movement, move the fighter in such a way that at least one of the tiles occupies the final tile of movement. What are you talking about? What? Okay, it's kind of, right, hang on. So when moving or counting ranges of a fight, that's +2. So I'm guessing 2 is... I'm guessing size 2 is is bigger. It doesn't really say. We just know that larger sizes are treated as size 1 when it comes to effects, but you can't hit a size 2 twice with an area attack. Maybe they're smaller. Maybe I'm... Oh, it says here, hang on. Okay, hang on, I'm going to come back to this. I want to read this bit first. So, size 1.5 are smaller beings, like little earth gods, geckos, ants, little lizards, and so on. Size 1/2 is anything below 1 square foot tall and wide, and it should only take up a quarter of a square. Size 2 should be reserved for large beings the size of small pagodas. The demigods, young giants of pygmy giants. Size 2 creatures can take up 2 by 2 by 2 on the grid. So they are bigger. Size 3 is for powerful, perhaps even legendary and mythical beasts and beings. These fighters take up a huge chunk of the grid and should be treated with both fear, awe, and grandeur. Well, both indicates 2 things. Should be creatures like serpent gods, hatred demons, or elder giants. They take up a 3 by 3 by 3 square. Okay, so yeah, so this will be like a 1 by 1 square. And then 2 by 2, then 3 by 3. That makes more sense. So, going back to this then, with size 2 or higher, choose any squares they're occupying, and then count as you would normally count. So yeah, so if it's a 2 by 2, I'm not going to pick that middle bit, I'm going to pick one of the squares and then move out from there as the orange tile. Yeah, that makes sense. This should be up here for sure. After movement, move the fighter in such a way that at least one of the tiles is occupying the final tile. Okay, so they don't... Yes, I understand that. Did that make sense now? If only it was here. Oh, there's more, sorry. Size 4 are for even larger beings than this. Humongous colossuses, living bohistavas, statues, ancient ruinous giant defense spirits, giant forest gods. They take up a 4x4x4 on the battle grid. Same 5x5x5 for size 5, which are giant raffle demons, elder gods, fierce dog lion gods, ancient viscera witches. Oh, sounds awful. Giant serpents, enormous deer spirits, infested giant demon boars, and even giant god bodies. However, they can far exceed this elevation width in the fiction. Okay, and size 6 shouldn't be modelled as a single fighter in the battlefield. Instead, section their body as different size 5 fighters on the field. That's quite cool. I like that, the sound of that for sure. But yeah, this should have been rescheduled. Oh my god, and 7+ should not be modelled as a fighter at all. Perhaps they are battlefields on their own that the Kadungganan must damage or somehow quell. These are truly gargantuan beings. Should be reserved for truly godly beings. Beings of towering gargantuan bulk. We've had that several times now. These are crocodiles that would cause a change in the tides. Eagles whose wings block out the sun. Turtles that are entire islands on their own. Primordial titans. Serpents that wind about the entire... that wind about entire mountains and gods. Right. We're only about halfway through. Oh, I hope there's a quick start. I hope there's a quick start module, sorry. A note on styles and riffing. As a team-based grid combat game, Gubat Banwa's styles have skills and abilities that would best benefit a team when they are riff in a certain particular order. Ah, this is what it was talking about before. So this must be the different archetypes that we have. Okay. So in Gubat Banwa, it is as follows. So we've got sentinels, we've got witches, we've got raiders, sharp shooters. Get there eventually, and mediums. So that's what he talked about before. So it goes in this order in terms of riffing initiatives or turn order. So sentinels benefit from moving fast, as very often they are the ones that will engage the enemy, applying soft controlling effects that make sure that the focus is on them. Witches benefit from moving directly afterwards to weaken already softened fighters, to move them into proper position, or to bombard them with crippling decisions. Ugh, me constantly. Raiders benefit from moving after this to take advantage of the weakened ranks, breaking weak links, being able to kill those that need to be killed first, as dealing damage and using superior movements to get into positions opened up by witches and sentinels is what they're built to do. Sharp shooters, we'll get there, benefit from moving later to be able to pick out those enemies that can be defeated easily from their positions, or to take advantage from enemies' final positions without having to move themselves. And finally, mediums benefit from moving last to fix any wounds that might have happened, to know the lay of the battlefield near the end of a resound, and to give proper buffs for the next resound. I have had a thought that maybe I'm looking at an old quick start, just because I got this from the Kickstarter, but if they've updated the one on the itch.io, let's look at that now, shall we? That's one. So, hang on. Let's do it whilst I'm thinking about it. Oh no, you saw the background. There we go. So that's where I got it from. I got this particular kickstart from here. Maybe if I just go and let's go try out. Let's I got it from here, I don't know. So let's just downloads. Updated 2 days ago. We'll find out. I'll be interested to see if it's any longer. No, it's still the same length. So maybe I'm just being silly. We'll finish this one. I'm not too worried. I'm just like, oh dear, oh dear. So here's an example. Oh, that's a cool Oh, okay. So we're gonna. I see. It's. Hang on. Let me move it to 2 pages so we can see the full. Oh, can't see it. Typical. Let me. So we can see here an example of the height thing. So this person is 2 squares up on this particular square. So 0, 1, 2. And then in front we've got a very good dog, got their own square. And another fighter there, and a pile of bones. So, let's go. So the third pillar of Gubat Banwa's combat is the battlefield. The Indra's net of 1-inch tiles that represent the space where violence explodes. They're composed of objects, terrain, and weather. Remember that no battlefield should be more than 24 by 24 times 16. Well, it said earlier it was 16 by 16, so... the third one being the maximum verticality. So yeah, so length, width, height. Commonly those battlefields will be 16 by 16. So we talked about elevations before. They are an integral aspect to combat. They are there to impede your movements and force interesting tactical decisions in a naturalistic manner. Elevations that you cannot reach within your jump are considered blocking terrain for you. This means you cannot move across them diagonally. Very common, ranger attacks consider elevations within a height difference of +2 as blocking terrain for their line of sight and effect, unless your attack ignores blocking terrain. This means, if you're on an elevation of +1 tile attacking on someone who on a -2 elevation tile, and there's a wall of elevation 3 within you, then it isn't an invalid attack. Yes, it goes through there, it goes up, and it goes straight down. That's where it's on the other side. I see that. If you were on an elevation 4, you'd be able to look over and shoot over the elevation 3 tiles, blocking your line of sight and effect. Out of bounds. In general, when you move to a tile that's not in the battlefield, you become out of bounds. You're removed from the battlefield until the end of violence. Oof. So yeah, I guess if you're pushed off by some like a technique, or thrown off, that's it. That's you done. 3 tiles. Edges. After putting down the battlefield, define the edges of the battlefield. There are limits to your battlefield on 4 sides of your tile battlefield. They are either walls, meaning they can collide against, or chasms, which means moving them puts you out of bounds. Walls at the edges are often indestructible unless the fiction allows them to be destroyed. Yes, so you got the invisible video game walls there. Yeah, single page view, I don't know what I'm doing. 3 tiles. In general, when a fighter or an object is at least size 1, they're occupying that tile. A tile has nothing occupying them is a free tile. So, like before... Oh, I see. So this tree, the top of this tree is at height 3 there. So these are 3 tiles, for example, because they don't have anything in them. Okay. Objects. Objects are items on the battlefield. They are categorized by height, size and height. They're mostly size 1 unless stated otherwise, which means they take up 1 tile. More sizes means they take up x by x squares. This means, like for example, a size 4 object will take up a 4 by 4 on the battlefield. Fighters cannot move through objects unless stated otherwise, or the object is a half size and only takes up a quarter of the tile. Most objects also are of a height 1 unless stated otherwise, meaning they rise up to +1 elevation. Objects that are height 4, for example, are +4 elevations tall, meaning they can block lines of sight, block a line of sight and a line of effect. Most objects have a durability equal to their size times 20 for a minimum of 1. This works the same as posture. If they're brought to 0, they are destroyed, removing them from the battlefield. And finally, objects that can be targeted by any attack, even if the attack defines specifically allies or enemies. Simply, area attacks that target a large area of multiple fighters or enemies still affect objects in the area. Yep, that makes some sense. So that makes sense. We've got some random objects here as well. Random table, an idol, a wall. Climbable. Climbable objects are objects that can be treated as elevations and can be moved on top of, provided you have enough jump. And then we've got some stats for these objects as well. What about the idol? an anthropomorphic construct of a god, whether it be a nature deity, a bohisattva, a bohisattva, or a ancestor, a size 1 object. All fighters that start their riff in a burst of one or the other heals free posture. Oh, very good. If the enemy destroys an icon, everyone gains 2 thunderbolts. If a player destroys an icon, add +2 to the Gubat pool. Okay. I like that. Yeah, having stuff in the environment that changes, like, tactically, that's quite cool. Terrain. Terrain is the most important aspect of Gubat Banwa's combat system. It defines how both Kadungganan and NPCs will maneuver and interact with the environment. By default, terrain is normal. Nothing happens when you move it into, stay, or start your rift when within this tile. Slopes are tiles that have one or more sides lower than the others. Choose one of the 3 sides of the tile that is the lower tile. This tile is considered an elevation lower than the rest of the tile, meaning it can be moved into by those with a lower jump, but only orthogonally through that tile. What is that? I've never heard of that word before. Orthogonally. Gonally. Orthogonally. Oh, it sounds like something out of Harry Potter, doesn't it? Orthogonally. 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 It must be a different way. There's obviously not diagonally. Currents. The sword isles is surrounded by water, and water usually has currents. Rushing rivers, flowing seas. Fighter moves or starts their turn in a flowing current. Slide them 1 tile in the direction of the current. Oh, nice. That's defined by the battlefield. If it's particularly strong, you may make it so that it slides them up to 3 tiles. And they've got some random terrain table. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. If you find that you were to make a map where there are steel platforms that can be stepped onto, follow the fiction. Steel conducts electricity, and any fighter that suffers attacks with lightning and electricity whilst on that tile will be shocked. Cool, alright. And then we've got some more stuff here. We'll look into it too deeply. That's cool. Again, having that idea, like, again, I can imagine this, if you're setting up the terrain together, again, I can imagine this really benefits from in-person play, having that difficult terrain, moving around like that, because then seeing not only seeing like it not seeing like the plane and how it looks, but also having that height as well. You can really see that, and having these terrain things. Again, I think we'd set it up, and I'd make sure that, okay, so here are the rules that terrain have given. Here are the objects, and here's their particular things. I think those would be important to give to the players in some way. Oh, and we've got weather, of course. The default weather is clear when nothing else is different. Indoor fights always have clear weather. Cool. Oh, Deep Gloom would be quite fun. What's Deep Gloom's thing? It says here, can only draw line of sight to adjacent tiles or those in bright light. The gleam techniques create a burst of light when used that lasts till the end of the user's next rift. Okay, cool. So not only that do you have like terrain rules and object rules, but you also have weather rules as well, which I could really affect it. And I really like. I know thunderstorm as well. That's really cool. Yeah, that I quite like. The world stands at the precipice of death and end, virtue and vice. The end of the blade burns with smokeless flame. Channel your virtue into something better. Channel your passion into a truth that destroys. Let destruction lead to rebirth, eternal life, and righteous bandits. They are broken upon the wheel all the same. Shatter the steel. So this is a quick adventure. We're not going to look at it too much in detail. It's how you get started on the cycle. So we've presumably been given enough to go off the rule set, so that's fine. I'm going to move ahead then a little bit, see if there's any character sheets, because I would like to have a look. Ooh, and so you got see, so it sets up the encounters, what to do for enemies depending on how many players you've got. That's quite cool. 5 or plus players. Oof, sounds like a lot. Oh, it says here, Grey tiles are +1 elevation, dark grey tiles are +2. Darker tiles in the middle are -1 deep water terrain. And cross tiles are where enemies can be deployed. Cross tiles? I'm guessing here. Right, so the characters all start here. Oh, it's very Gloomhaven-esque, isn't it, now that I think about it? Cool. Okay, so that's very basic in terms of the, like, showing what we need, but it instantly sets out to me, okay, that's quite easy to sort out. Traveling the Sea, Sailor Moon, yeah. NPC stat blocks, great. Oh, wow, look at that. I'm guessing that's the, maybe that's the final battle map. I don't want to... Oh, maybe it's that first one. Maybe it's that first map. Oh, no. No, it's this, whatever this is. This is the battlefield. It must be the final battle then, because you've got some bits in dark. That's cool. You've got some stones. Presumably that's it. Again, aftermath. Oh, and you can have a QR code there to go to the core rulebook. Regenerated characters. That's what I want to look at. Okay. There's Sampong Baha. Let's look at Sampong's character. She/her, a feisty, unyielding warrior who is beholden to her duty. And let's get rid of the word feisty. Always have feisty. So her conviction is duty. She will enact the great world raid and extinguish the Pale. Her passions are that she'll slay all Pale kings. Nothing will ever get past me, and it is hard for me not to kill when I'm in the blood. The culture is Gat-Tusan. As a Gat-Tusanon, Sampong Baha can always spout poetry and song, fuck with others, and show off her prowess. Sorry. She belongs to the great city of Kangdeya. The beasts of our times, the one that shall eat the dawn. Whilst not blessed with great stupas or pagodas of Bai, the city stretches up the Grand River and across the bay of Matawili. Sorry, that's not it at all. Mantawili. Yeah, maybe that is how it's pronounced. And over even the Isle of Opon. A giant sword turned lighthouse sticks up from its bay. It has fended off the Pale Kings before and thus has never known defeat. The Grand Palace of the Hari belongs here, burgeoning with alloyed gold and bronze, unfellable, guarding the oldest strangler fig tree known as the Malaun. Her profession is a warrior, comes from a family of warriors faithful to the Rajanate, who treats the new Raja as a close family friend and has pledged blood compacts with. Her tattoos sing of your courage and prowess. Social class is noble, a scion of the house of Dimantag, the slayers of the first Pale King. Oblige weighs heavy on her, and she attracts unwanted attention due to the nature of the real Pollock in the Isles. In her items, then you have these skills. Philosophy, multiple strikes. That's her total amount of hit points or posture. What the staggered condition is: speed is 5, jump is 2, evade is 2, ferocity is 5, spirit is 1, parry is 3, and resistance is 1. Gosh. Interesting. And then you've got special beats. I'm guessing these are beats per attack, so you can do... Oh, does it say if it's a fight at the end of... Multiple strike. Didn't really talk about what thunderbolts do. You may thunder afterwards to move up to... Okay, so it's like an additional resource then. Okay, fair enough. And then you got your free beats for characters. And then it goes on to the other characters. So it's another character. I'll move on. So there's different formatting for different characters, which is a little bit frustrating. Like, gosh, what is that font there? Inflict violence. Pierce the fur. Pierce the firmament. Firmament. Oh, and now it's frozen. Typical. Yeah, Mom. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, oh, might go past it. There you go. Look at that. That's a great image. Are these the same? I assume they will be the same if I go up and look. Yeah, they're the same number of skills. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 skills. Ooh, gosh. Yeah, there's all slightly different formatting for this, which it's fine, but it could be sorted out. Oh, what a great image! I love that. And I love any dog. Excellent. Oh, and she, they as well. Fantastic. I'm sure that other one was he, him. And she, they as well. Brilliant. Oh, like that. Oh, and they, them. Oh, look at that image. That's cracking. Ah, oh, snakes. Why does it have to be snakes? An insufferable healer who knows too much and won't let you know the end of it. Actually deeply committed to healing Gubat Banwa. Oh. And again, oof, can't read that at all. You scarcely imagine it. The sky of 1,000 worlds. Become a yeah, oh gosh, I'll get there. Become a Kadungganan. Oh no, that's not it at all. Become a Kadungganan. And pave your path in blood, steel, enlightenment, and conviction. There will be no 8th age. The old world dies. The new world struggles to be born. War erupts. Violence on all sides. Where will you be? Wield your weapon. And that's it in terms of quick start. Well. Let's... Gosh. I don't know about you guys, and I appreciate, you know, pronunciations, my own poor pronunciations aside, I have absolutely no idea how to play this game. And maybe it's just me, I like the concept of having the 3D sort of battlefield. I like having the rules for, like, here's what the weather's like, here's what you know, difficult terrain stuff. So I like that, imagining that. And I can imagine that this really would appeal to people in terms of, like, fighting and stuff, but I'm still not 100% sure on what the main mechanic is. If I go back to it, past the law, which I know is going to be really super interesting. Like, divining powers, that's because we've got two major parts, drama and violence. What does that mean? Like, the violence part, I assume, is combat, and then divining the powers, and then there's divining of the powers, which is like the start of initiative, or give me some rules for that. I guess this is so divining powers, that's the main when you're doing skill rolls, right? So that's your skill die. So any of those skill die you have, I think you said it before, so if we take an example of one of those characters, so say we were doing running across a rooftop, known as divining the powers. So if I get to this character, and it was a, I don't know, say it was a might roll. So we need to roll at least 1d12, but also have a d8 or something else, one of these. Or maybe, say we had to do a grace roll, let's do that instead. Say we had to do a grace roll of some sort. So it's 1d12 plus 4d8. Roll those 4d8. If any of them are odd, it goes, they increase the difficulty, the target number, which is 5, by 2. So say, I don't know, 2 of them were odd. The difficulty goes then from 5 to 9. And then I have to roll a d12, which is the skill die, and I have to get equal to or over 9 in that case. Which I can do, but then if it's odd, then I get some sort of disadvantage of success but with a cost. And then if it's even, I get but fail. So say I got, I don't know, an 8. I fail the check, but I get some blessing of some sort of positive thing. I get that now. I think so. That was the drama side of it, and then the violence. I don't even know what a violence roll is. That's the thing, is that I don't think it said anywhere what the violence roll was. Let me go and have a look at it. Movement. Obviously, I think, yeah, so I don't mind the lists and stuff. I could print those out and have them to the side. Especially if it's focusing all on the fighting aspect, which I know I'm very weak at anyway. I can imagine this would be quite cool to work out for sure. Specific technique. Choose the appropriate targets and roll the appropriate as your die rolls. Express them. So let's do that. So this is on page 17. So let's go back to this person. So here are I'm guessing these techniques. So I see. So I'm guessing the D4 plus ferocity versus that person's parry. If we were doing the Naga bites the side. It's a physical and it's relentless, whatever that means. And the effect would be stealth. I would gain stealth if I succeed on that. So D4 plus ferocity. What's ferocity here? Oh, it's not here. Here. 3. So what is that? Hang on. Go back to so. There we go. So, I see. So, say it was a D4. I rolled a 4. And it's a melee. It was a melee attack, right? So I could do another chain. But then if let's keep it simple. Say I rolled a 3, and then it was a now I can't remember ferocity. So it'll be plus 3, so it'll be 7 total. And then if the violence violence die rolls equal to or lower than the defender stat, right? I see. So say it was a 3, but equal to that rolled stat. I understand. Wait, the violence dice rolled. So wait, is it the roll not plus anything equal to a defense? I'm guessing so. So what did it say here? You roll a 3d4 melee attack and you rolled a 1, 4 and 4, and then you roll 2 more chains dice. Yes. The 1 is considered evaded. Yes, because they've not attack momentum is right, I understand. Okay, that I understand now. And then add the technique's attacking stat, whether it be ferocity or spirit, along with any other damage modifiers. So, okay, right. So you forget that I added anything. So say I rolled a 3 plus the 4 from the ferocity, that's 7, and then defends. The defense parry. So say they were fighting. I don't know. This person. What's their parry? Parry is 4. Oof. Okay, parry is 4. Almost there. I'm trying to work out what's going on. There we go. Parry is 4. Parry is 4. So that reduces that. So it goes down to 3. Add any other damage modifiers here. So then it's 3 total. Okay. God, I got there. Same. Since my friend just got through. My friends and I just got through most of the character creation. Oh, fair, Defty. Like, did you play with the core rulebook or did you use this quick start? Because I will say, God, I think I've got it now that I've gone back through. But I have to compare. I would have to print out this actual book, right? And those character sheets definitely there needs to be more examples within the stats. I'm not someone who really reads through stuff, but because I will admit, combat is not my strongest point in any game, and yet this is all about combat. It just feels a little like it's missing quite a bit, and I had to go back and forth quite a bit. Like there was no explanation of what this like evade was or POS was until I got to this page. But then there was talking about it earlier, like and staggered and all that sort of thing. Realistically, like, and again with this starting, like I quite like the sort of like almost like your moves. It's like if you're doing a turn in Magic the Gathering, right? It goes like, okay, start, set, turn, draw, etc. Okay, and then you have your main phase, do blockers, next phase, etc. It's just, yeah, I just feel like I can see what they've done, but that took me a long time to get through, and I know that's obviously on me, and also my pronunciation as well, not great. just took a little while to get going, and I'm just maybe it's made simpler in that quick start module, which we obviously didn't look at because I didn't want to spoil it in case you want to play through it, etc. What do I think? Well, I'm glad I read this and not the 600-page book, because that would have been an absolute nightmare. We went through the core rulebook with the most recent patch. Fair enough, fair enough. Hopefully that was a bit more consistent, perhaps, in layout and stuff. Yeah, it's just really interesting. Like, I can see the appeal of it, but it feels like one of those, like, someone's brought a board game, and they've gone, we'll learn as we go, and you're sat down going, oh, I don't know what any of my moves do. So yeah, I would, again, maybe they do it in the core rulebook, or maybe it's some other people do it later. They'll do like a reference sheet that you could give to the players, like, here's your moves, here's everything. Like, maybe it's on the character sheet as well. Because I do know, if I still have it up, will it be there? Will it be here? Who knows? Hang on. The thing my group is worried about is if they come up with more updates. That is fair, Def Dealer. I was saying at the beginning of the stream that I downloaded the version that I got a couple of months ago, and that was 300 something pages. And I looked and I was like, oh, they've updated it, and that went to 600 pages. And I was like, oh no! And then I found the quick start, which made me laugh. I'm just gonna check. Sorry, this is the quick start that I've got from their itch, which I assume might be the same. I'm just gonna have a quick look through. It seems the same as well. Just because I was like, oh no, have I downloaded an old version of the quick start? It doesn't look like it, to be fair. No, it doesn't. It looks pretty much the same. I'll go see if I'll move forward in the quick start. Maybe in the character sheets map, maybe I will see it. Well, it's still missing an image there, so perhaps not. What do I think overall? I'm thinking. Yeah, it doesn't look like they've changed. So yeah, it must be the same, similar quick start. What do I think overall? Like, I just, I definitely think, because I know they must have, they've got actual plays of it, and they've got, I know there's, the designers have been interviewed as well. Oh gosh, how beautiful these images are. But I'm already like, I feel like I'm on the back foot in terms of, I don't think I'd ever run it as it doesn't work for podcasting at all. It definitely is a visual element. You know, it has. You know, you have to use the battle map in some respects, whether it's in 3D or online. So, but would I use it for a stream though? I think it'd be really interesting to try it, for sure. But I think you'd have to run 1 or 2 sessions first, just so that not only you as like the GM, the sort of facilitator, essentially, gets to grips with rules, but also the players. Because I can imagine, like, if a player from presumably what we've seen in actual plays in the last couple of years is obviously this role-play S-type thing. Like, I can imagine there'd be some great role plays here, but ultimately it is the focus on the combat and the tactics and stuff, which I know is really interesting. It can, you know, if you make it, that's the part of the story. It can be really interesting. But to get everyone on the same page, and just be like knowing what the rules, so that you're not like stuck with me going, oh, wait, what do I have to do? So actually thinking about it, I wonder if, and a solo player as well, which again, obviously, so they do have some actual plays there. So maybe I'll check that out and just like listen through, because maybe again, maybe it might be one of those things where you have to listen to someone playing it through first. But I think for me, yeah, definitely have to have a couple of sessions, just try out very small encounters, and then build up to like doing one on stream perhaps. But yeah, the actual thing itself, I don't think it's not fair to be like, oh well, it's missing this or the layout is X. I appreciate it is a quick start, but it did feel a bit like it wasn't easy to pick up. And I'm not saying like I'm very good at, you know, reading through books. That's the whole point of the stream, is to, you know, make myself accountable and learn something new. I think the system itself would be good. It would be nice to actually have it highlighted really early on, saying here's the main rule for your drama bits, which is the roleplay element. Here's the violence section. Like, make it very clear that was the thing I think I found. Let's go for it. So this bit is the drama section, but it doesn't say it anywhere. This is just like, there's two major parts. This is drama, and then you go on to the violence, which is the combat element, which is absolutely fine. But like, really highlight what it is. Like you know, it's just, that was the only thing, because that's why I'm struggling to go back and forth. So yeah, this is the process for rollings in drama checks. Yeah, the good and, yeah, because I like that. I think that I found it really interesting. It's not highlighted too much here, which can be a little bit difficult, I think, if you're trying to get through to people. Like this, I feel like, again, I know it's such a silly maybe layout thing, but you got 1, 2, 3, and then this is obviously two options linked to 3. Call it A and B, or I and 2I, you know, that sort of thing. So I think just a little bit of outlining, be like, this is the important role that you need to know, or your players need to know. Other than that, I like the setting up for like the victory conditions and defeat conditions. I think that's really interesting, and I think that'd be really cool to talk with your players about building this particular thing. It's like, what would be the worst thing that could happen? What would be the best thing that could happen? And then you, as the GM, could be like deciding, oh, it's much worse than that, or you actually, there's a twist on it, etc. I think the language it uses, like, obviously it's not my language, and obviously it's something I struggle with, so I always say this about every RPG, I wish there was a pronunciation guide, or at least somewhere at the top being like, because we got a term thing here, we've got the terms here off to one side, fine, and then later on we have terms, where is it? If I look, terms here, yeah, kind of terms here, like the mantras and what the keywords mean here for the techniques, which I assume, again, the techniques are those things at the end. She says, rushing ahead, so I assume these are the techniques, right? That's what I was going to look at. I was going to look at the online character. Oh, hello, just a stranger. Thanks for having us. Oh, I've come in very late. No worries. Testy turkey. Yes, well, yeah, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this, folks. Though, if it's your main tabletop RPG, because we've just come to the end of the reading through Gubat Banwa's sort of quick start, and I've actually really struggled with it. And I'm just saying this as well. I'm not necessarily a combat person, but I like the idea of building the physical sort of like 3D elements of it. I can imagine that being really fun to do. But the layout of this particular quick start has actually been very difficult to understand, and I was just saying that obviously I'm very bad at pronouncing things anyway, so it would be nice to have a pronunciation guide of all the terms and all the lore stuff as well. Obviously in this particular quick start you don't make your generated characters, they've got pre-gens at the end, which is great, but again the layout for them is also all over the place. I think like I understand why they have like the skills and the violence, like the different stats on the right. That makes sense, because you know, in some regions we read right to left, so that's up to me to be like, oh, it's over here, I guess. But it just feels a little bit all over the place. But that's the thing I was going to check out, because they do have an online character tracker, which I was going to have a quick look about it. Just reading about the combat, it seems a mix of Lancer and 4th edition D&D. Yes, that's what I heard as well, and admittedly I've not read any Lancer. I've heard it's really good though, and the concept of it does sound appealing. So I was going to finish off by looking at the character sheet as it's shown on this character tracker. So let me find that, because I had that to hand, and now it's gone walkabouts. Where were we? Here it is. So now let me work out how to make it. So apologies, but this is the actual. Oh, and also I'm way too big as usual. Never mind. Move it to one side. So you can see like an image. So this is, you can get this if you go to the Gubat Banwa. So there's quick start, etc., and obviously got stuff there. But if you bought the actual, I'm going to go to the actual. Where are we? So this is where I got it. My copy of Gubat Banwa. Is that you can download. Let me just get to the bottom. Might have been good to actually read through this whole thing, right? Oh well. But when you buy it for $20, obviously you get the latest version of it. You get the online cycle sheet, which is what this is. So this is an example of the character sheet that you can get. Obviously, it's a lot more detail than we've got into here, so it will all be in here. So instantly, it was interesting. Ooh, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more now. Interesting. It's added some more skills here, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Yeah, because I could have sworn there was 13 in the other one. But they split it into categories, which is interesting there. And obviously didn't go into any of the debt stuff, because obviously that is a quick start. And then here we go, you got the prowess abilities and the attributes there. So there's your, that's where your health would be, etc. But already, and there's the Thunderbolt, which is your pool, and then the Gabba pool, which is the GM's pool as well. There's a lot to it. I think that's what I wanted to point out. Again, we haven't looked at much, but there's not a character sheet within the quick start. It's just the page of stuff, which maybe you don't need for anything else. But then when you look at the actual character sheet, it just seems like a lot, the online one. But that said, what I did read when I got my copy of it, it does say at the beginning, it's very overwhelming. Take your time with it and reading it. And so that's the thing. I think that's the thing, is that as a brand new stuff to me. So it's one of those things where I'd have to learn about it a bit more. And actually, like I said, I think I am going to go away from this stream and watch those actual plays that are on the Kickstarter websites and stuff, just because then to actually get a feel of it, because it looks really cool and I love the idea of it. It's something that, again, I'm not used to, and it's something I'd love to try out. For context, everything's still under editing. I think this includes the quick start. Wax keeps updating the game slightly every 2 weeks. Lol. That is great to know. Thanks, Just a Stranger. Yeah, I only discovered that it updated yesterday, so I was like, oh, okay, good to know. But yeah, but that's it. That's all we've got time for on this stream of Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs. Thanks for bearing with me. Again, I didn't realise how difficult it would be for my pronunciations, because as I've said, I am really bad at pronouncing things in general. You just have to check out any of the other streams. Let's go back to Big Fiona Cat. Different. I enjoyed it in the sense of, like, it's something different, and I'm very much appreciate being challenged on things and trying to work things out. If you're interested in finding out more, you can check out the website, which will lead to the itch.io, which you can get your own copy on, and check out the Kickstarter as well. You could follow along and just check things out. I think for $20, that's not bad, and it's for something very different to try out, and from a Southeast Asian culture, which is incredible. We have, Nightbot finally updated. I was like, what are you doing, Nightbot? But thank you so much, and thank you for bearing with me. If you're interested, this is What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast. So, like I said, maybe unlikely that this will feature, but hey, you can dream. On top of that, excuse me, if you want to find out more about that, I'll put it in the link in the thank you, Discord. Not Discord, Ed. If you want to find out more about the podcast, there's a link to the link tree in the chat, so you can go check that out. We do mostly narrative storytelling ones, but again, the whole point of this channel is for me as an accountability thing to read the RPGs that I have on my drive and on my shelf, which I've got way too many of, which I'm sure everyone who's watching can appreciate it. The other things to say is that I do have some streams coming up this week of more Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPG. I'm just going to look up what they are, because I've completely forgotten what they were supposed to be. Tuesday, nothing. I definitely had a couple. Let me have a look on my... Let me look. So we have coming up on Tuesday, we have English Eerie, which will be quite fun. That is done by Troll Delver Games, which is let me read what it said in the thing. It is a GM-less tabletop RPG of terrifying proportions, allowing you to weave your own haunted tales in the dark English countryside. Fantastic. Then on Wednesday we got Orbital Blues. It's going to be what we're going to read through, which I'm excited to do that. I've read it through before, but I have to read it for a secret project that's coming up. So that'll be fun. That'll be on Wednesday. Then on Friday, we're not doing a Thursday stream, unfortunately, because I'm out and about, but on Friday in the afternoon in 3 p.m. UK time, we're going to look at dialects, which I'm very much looking forward to. Excuse me. It's a game about an isolated community, their language, and what it means for that language to be lost, which I'm very excited for. So in this game, you tell the story of the isolation by building their language. New words will come from the fundamental aspects of the community, who they are, what they believe in, and how they respond to a changing world. So something very, very different. If you are interested in talking more about these RPGs, excuse me, my throat is completely gone now. Where is the... There we go. If you're interested in learning a bit more, not learning a bit more, but if you're chatting about RPGs, certainly, like, I'm always open to hearing other tabletop RPG systems. You know, like I said, this is brand new to me. This kind of style of system. If you fancy, feel free to join the Discord. We've got one. Let me make sure I type Discord in properly. There we go. We've got a Where and DM Books Club Discord. The DM's Book Club, if you're interested in D&D lore, we read the books so you don't have to, and we also change that lore to make it suitable for any RPG system or RPG story, just because there's so much of it, and there's lots of interesting things in there that we can really dive down and change. Sorry, not change, but, improve, I think is the word. Thank you so much. I hope you had a really good Sunday. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Excuse me, my throat's completely gone just at the last minute. I will see you back on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend or the rest of your day, and I will see you. Where's the off button? There it is. I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.